She thought they were just two strangers stuck in an elevator. 20 minutes of honest conversation, a surprising connection, and a date she never planned to accept. But the next morning, a single news broadcast showed her who she'd really been talking to. The elevator jolted. Everything went dark except the emergency lights casting shadows across two faces. Two strangers who had no idea their lives were about to collide. Veronica's breath caught in her throat. The woman beside her stayed impossibly calm, her hand steady against the wall. "Are you okay?" the stranger asked, her voice smooth like expensive silk. Veronica nodded, heart pounding. She didn't know it yet, but the woman standing 3 feet away controlled half of Seoul's underworld. The woman whose enemies would soon know Veronica's name. The woman who never, ever let anyone close. But right now, they were just two tired souls trapped between floors. And in 20 minutes, everything Veronica thought she knew about safety would shatter. The Mirai Financial Tower stretched 68 floors into Seoul's midnight sky. Most of the building was dark at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday. Most people had gone home hours ago. But Veronica Lee, 28, exhausted, running on cold coffee and stress, was still there. Her fingers trembled as she saved the final presentation file. 12 hours until the client meeting. 12 hours until she could prove she belonged at Gojin Brands. 12 hours until she could finally sleep. She shut her laptop with a sigh that felt like surrender. The office was a graveyard of empty desks and dimmed lights. Her reflection in the dark windows looked like a ghost. Messy bun, coffee-stained cardigan, eyes that had forgotten what rest felt like. She grabbed her canvas bag and headed for the elevator. Just get home. Just get to bed. Just survive another day. But across the city, in a penthouse overlooking Gangnam, another woman was preparing to enter the same building. Josephine Kang, 31, leader of the Chungjin group. Charcoal suit, low ponytail, expression that gave nothing away. She had an unannounced meeting tonight, a corporate partner under investigation, investments that needed protecting. Her security detail stayed in the car. She didn't want attention, not tonight. Before I continue, let me ask you something. My husband told me I'd never hit 1,000 subscribers. He said my stories were too intense and nobody wants to watch this stuff. So if you're enjoying this story, if you want to see what happens when two worlds collide in the worst possible way, hit that subscribe button. Let's prove him wrong together. Thanks for subscribing. Now let's get back to the elevator. Veronica pressed the elevator button and stepped inside. She leaned against the wall, rubbing her burning eyes. The doors began to close. Then a hand, elegant, steady, slipped through the gap. The doors reopened. A woman walked in. Tall, composed. The kind of person who looked like they'd never lost control of anything in their life. Charcoal suit perfectly tailored. Dark eyes that seemed to see everything and reveal nothing. Their eyes met briefly. Neither spoke. Veronica thought she looked important. Like someone who lived in a world Veronica would never understand. Someone who probably had a driver waiting downstairs and an assistant handling her schedule. Josephine thought Veronica looked exhausted. Sad. Honest in a way that startled her. The doors shut. The elevator began its descent. Floor 27, floor 26, floor 25. Too quiet. Uncomfortable silence. Then, a jolt. The elevator stopped violently. Everything went dark except the dim emergency lighting. Veronica gasped, her body tensing. Her hands flew to the wall to steady herself, heart hammering, breath shallow. Josephine didn't move, didn't panic. Just stood there like she'd been in worse situations. "Are you okay?" Josephine asked, her voice calm. Veronica nodded quickly. "Yeah, sorry, I'm just tired." Most strangers would have dismissed that. Would have pulled out their phone. Would have ignored her completely. Josephine didn't. Her expression softened, just a fraction. "What's your name?" Josephine asked. "Veronica. Yours?" "Josephine." The elevator stayed still. No sound from outside. No movement. Just two women trapped in a metal box suspended somewhere between the 25th and 24th floors. Veronica's phone had no signal. Josephine's didn't either. They were alone. But here's what Veronica didn't know. The woman standing 3 feet away controlled a criminal empire worth billions. Had enemies who'd kill for the chance to find her vulnerable. Had blood on her hands she'd never wash clean. And here's what Josephine didn't know. The exhausted woman in the coffee-stained cardigan was about to say something that would crack open the armor she'd worn for years. Veronica started talking first. Not because she wanted to overshare, but because silence made her anxious, because the walls felt like they were closing in. "I'm sorry," she said, laughing nervously. "I'm really bad at awkward situations." Josephine tilted her head slightly. "This isn't awkward, it's just unexpected." Unexpected is one word for it. Veronica slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor, knees pulled to her chest. "I've been at work since 6 a.m. I just want to go home. And now I'm trapped in an elevator with a stranger." "You could be trapped with worse," Josephine said quietly. Veronica looked up at her. "Are you saying you're not the worst-case scenario?" For the first time, Josephine's lips curved into something that almost resembled a smile. "I suppose that depends on who you ask." There was something in her voice. Something Veronica couldn't place. Sadness, loneliness, exhaustion that matched her own. "What do you do?" Veronica asked. Josephine hesitated. "I manage a family business." "Sounds stressful." "It is." "Do you like it?" Josephine paused longer this time. Nobody ever asked her that. Nobody ever cared if she liked it. They only cared if she was good at it. "No," she said finally. "But I don't have a choice." Veronica studied her face. This stranger, this impossibly composed woman, suddenly looked human, tired, trapped in her own way. "I get that," Veronica said softly. "I don't think I like my job either, but I need it, and I'm good at it. So I stay." Josephine sat down on the floor across from her. The movement was so unexpected that Veronica blinked. "What do you do?" Josephine asked. "Marketing coordinator. I make presentations and manage social media campaigns for celebrities who don't know I exist." "That sounds exhausting." "It is." Veronica laughed, but it came out bitter. "I work 12-hour days. I skip meals. I haven't been on a date in 2 years because I'm too tired to pretend I'm interesting. And the worst part? I don't even know if I'm building toward anything or just surviving." Josephine's expression shifted. Something in her eyes softened. "You feel like you're enduring," Josephine said quietly. "Not living." Veronica froze. "How did you—" "Because I feel the same way." The elevator stayed still. Minutes passed. Neither of them checked the time. Neither of them tried to call for help yet. They just talked. Veronica told her about burnout, about trying so hard not to disappoint anyone, about building a life that felt safe but empty, about being responsible, careful, controlled, because risk was for people with someone to catch them when they fell. Josephine listened, really listened. Then she spoke. "I grew up in a house where emotions were liabilities," Josephine said, "where showing weakness meant becoming a target. I learned to lock everything away, to lead without feeling, to make decisions that keep people safe but destroy me slowly." Veronica's chest tightened. "That sounds lonely." "It is." "Do you have anyone you can talk to?" Josephine's laugh was hollow. "No, people either fear me or want something from me. Nobody sees me. They see what I represent." Veronica didn't know why, but she felt something crack open inside her. This stranger, this woman who looked like she had everything, was just as alone as she was. "I see you," Veronica said quietly. Josephine's breath caught. "What?" "I see you right now, not whatever you represent. Just you." For the first time in years, Josephine felt tears threaten to surface. She blinked them away quickly. 20 minutes passed like 20 seconds. They talked about responsibility, about pressure, about the armor they wore every day and couldn't take off, about the lives they built that didn't feel like their own. Veronica laughed once, softly, when Josephine made a dry joke about corporate politics. Josephine smiled twice, barely noticeable, when Veronica described her disastrous attempt at cooking last week. Then the elevator jolted again. The lights flickered back on. The mechanism groaned to life. They were moving. Both women stood slowly. The moment was ending. Reality was coming back. Floor 15, floor 10, floor 5. Veronica's heart raced. She didn't want this to end. Didn't want to go back to her lonely apartment and pretend this conversation never happened. The doors opened at the lobby. Josephine didn't step out immediately. She stayed inside, her hand against the door to keep it from closing. Veronica, she said quietly. Her voice was different now, vulnerable, uncertain. May I have your number? Veronica's breath caught. What? I enjoyed talking to you. I'd like to do it again. Maybe over dinner? Veronica hesitated, not out of fear, out of disbelief. This impossibly elegant woman wanted to see her again? Yes, she said before she could overthink it. Josephine exhaled like she'd been holding her breath the entire time. They exchanged numbers in the empty lobby. Friday night? Josephine asked. 7 p.m.? Okay. Josephine's smile was small but genuine. Good night, Veronica. Good night, Josephine. Veronica walked to the subway in a daze. Her exhaustion had evaporated. Her mind was racing. She couldn't stop replaying the conversation. Couldn't stop thinking about Josephine's voice. Her eyes, her honesty. She felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. She didn't sleep that night. Just stared at the ceiling of her studio apartment, wondering who Josephine really was. Wondering if this was real. Wondering if she'd actually show up for dinner. Friday felt impossibly far away, but Friday was only one day. And the next morning, everything would change. Veronica woke up at 8 a.m. on Friday. She made coffee, checked her phone, smiled when she saw Josephine's name in her contacts. Then she turned on the TV to catch the morning news while getting ready. The cheerful news anchor appeared on screen. Breaking news this morning. Veronica poured her coffee, only half listening. Chungjin Group's leader was spotted at Mirai Financial Tower last night for what sources say was an unannounced business meeting. Veronica's hand froze mid-pour. The camera cut to footage. Security camera stills from the building's lobby. A woman in a charcoal suit. Low ponytail, unreadable expression. Josephine. Veronica's coffee mug slipped from her hand. It shattered on the floor. Hot liquid splashed across her feet. She didn't notice. The reporter continued. Josephine Kung, 31, became the youngest chairwoman of the Chungjin Group 3 years ago after her father's sudden death. The organization, one of Seoul's most powerful criminal networks, operates through a complex web of investments, protection services, and strategic influence. Criminal network, protection services. Underworld. Veronica's chest tightened. Her vision blurred, her hands started shaking. The woman she'd talked to like a friend, the woman who smiled, who opened up, who asked for her number, was the leader of a criminal empire? Her phone buzzed. She looked down with trembling hands. A message from Josephine. Still on for tonight? 7 p.m. I'll send a car to pick you up. Looking forward to it. Veronica couldn't breathe. She should say no, should block the number, should pretend last night never happened. But her fingers hovered over the keyboard, frozen, because she remembered Josephine's eyes in that elevator. Remembered the loneliness in her voice, remembered how human she seemed. And then another thought hit her. If Josephine was at Mirai Tower last night for business, and their elevator stopped on the 27th floor, that meant Josephine had been on Veronica's floor. Why? Veronica's phone buzzed again. Another message. If you've seen the news, I understand if you want to cancel. But I hope you don't. Last night meant something to me. Veronica's heart pounded so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. This was insane. Dating a mafia boss, dating someone whose enemies probably monitored her movements, dating someone who lived in a world of violence and danger. This was the opposite of everything Veronica had built her life around. This was risk, chaos, unpredictability. But then she remembered something her therapist once said. You're not living, Veronica. You're enduring. And one day you'll realize that the safest choice isn't always the right one. Veronica stared at her phone, at Josephine's messages, at the choice in front of her. She typed slowly, I'll be ready at 7. Across the city, in a penthouse overlooking Gangnam, Josephine read the message 3 times. Her heart, something she'd trained to stay silent, was racing. She'd expected Veronica to run, to block her, to disappear like everyone else who learned the truth. But she didn't. Josephine's assistant, Min Jun, knocked on her office door. Ma'am, we have the weekly briefing in 10 minutes. Cancel it, Josephine said quietly. Min Jun blinked. Josephine never canceled briefings. Ma'am? I said cancel it. Josephine stood, walking to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. And prepare the car for tonight, 6:45 p.m. Where are we going? Josephine didn't answer immediately. She was thinking about Veronica's message, about the fact that she didn't run. I'm going on a date, Josephine said finally. Minjun's eyes widened. In 3 years of working for Josephine, he'd never heard those words. A date, ma'am? Yes. And Minjun? Yes. Make sure the route is secure, no visible security. I want this to feel normal. Minjun hesitated. Ma'am, with respect, nothing about your life is normal. And if your enemies find out, they won't. Josephine's voice was cold now. Final. Make it happen. Minjun nodded and left. Josephine stood alone in her office. She should cancel this, should protect Veronica from the danger that came with her name. Should walk away before things got complicated. But she couldn't, because for the first time in years, someone saw her, really saw her, and Josephine realized she'd rather face danger than go back to being alone. That afternoon, Veronica called in sick to work. She couldn't focus, couldn't think about presentations or deadlines or corporate clients. All she could think about was tonight. She pulled every outfit from her closet. Too casual, too formal, too boring, too much. Nothing felt right. Finally, she settled on a simple black dress. Elegant but understated. The kind of thing that wouldn't make her feel like she was trying too hard. Her hands shook as she applied her makeup. What was she doing? What was she thinking? This wasn't her. This wasn't safe. But maybe that was the point. At 6:45 p.m., her phone buzzed. The car is downstairs. Veronica grabbed her purse, checked her reflection one last time, took a deep breath, and walked out the door. The car waiting for her wasn't flashy. A sleek black sedan with tinted windows. Professional but not ostentatious. The driver opened the door for her without a word. Veronica slid into the back seat. Her heart was hammering. Her palms were sweating. They drove through Seoul's evening traffic in silence. The city lights blurred past the windows. Veronica watched people on the sidewalks, normal people living normal lives. She wondered if she'd ever feel normal again. They pulled up to a restaurant Veronica had only seen in magazines. Hemil, a private dining establishment where reservations were impossible to get. The driver opened her door. Ms. Kang is waiting inside, he said quietly. Veronica stepped out onto the sidewalk. Her legs felt unsteady. A hostess appeared immediately, bowing slightly. Ms. Lee, please follow me. They walked through the main dining area, elegant, minimalist, every table filled with Seoul's elite. But they didn't stop there. The hostess led her up a staircase to a private room on the second floor. She opened the door, and there was Josephine. She stood by the window, looking out at the city. Black silk blouse, tailored pants, hair down this time, falling just past her shoulders. She turned when Veronica entered. You came, Josephine said softly. You thought I wouldn't? I thought you'd be smart enough not to. Veronica stepped further into the room. Maybe I'm not as smart as you think. Josephine's expression shifted. Something vulnerable flickered across her face. Or maybe you're braver than I am. They sat across from each other at a table set for two, candles, wine. A view of Seoul that made the city look like a sea of light. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Josephine broke the silence. I should explain. You don't have to, Veronica interrupted. Yes, I do. Josephine's voice was firm but gentle. You saw the news, you know who I am, and you came anyway. That deserves honesty. Veronica nodded slowly. Josephine took a breath. My father built the Chungjin group from nothing. When he died, I inherited it. Not because I wanted it, because I was the only one who could hold it together. What does that mean, holding it together? It means keeping people safe. Josephine's jaw tightened. The world thinks we're criminals. And in some ways, they're right. But we also protect neighborhoods the police ignore. We provide for families who have nowhere else to turn. We operate in the shadows because the light refuses to see us. Veronica absorbed this. So you're, what? A vigilante? No, Josephine's laugh was bitter. I'm a leader trying to prevent a war. I have enemies who'd burn the city down to take what I have. I have allies who'd betray me for the right price. And I have responsibilities I didn't ask for, but can't abandon. That sounds exhausting. It is. So why did you ask me to dinner? Josephine looked directly at her. Because in that elevator, for 20 minutes, I wasn't Josephine Kong, chairwoman of the Chungjin Group. I was just Josephine, and you saw me. Not my reputation, not my name, just me. Veronica's chest tightened. I'm nobody, Josephine. I'm a marketing coordinator who works too much and lives alone and hasn't done anything interesting in years. What could you possibly want from me? Everything you just said. Josephine's voice was barely above a whisper. You're normal, you're real, you're not performing, and when you looked at me last night, I felt human again. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. The food was extraordinary, but Veronica barely tasted it. Her mind was racing. Finally, she set down her fork. I need to ask you something. Anything. If I do this, if I see you again, will I be in danger? Josephine's expression went cold. Not toward Veronica, toward herself. Yes. Veronica appreciated the honesty. What kind of danger? My enemies will notice you. They'll wonder who you are. They might try to use you against me. And you're okay with that? No. Josephine's voice was sharp. I'm not okay with any of this, which is why I'll understand if you walk away right now. Veronica stared at her, at this woman who controlled an empire but couldn't control her own loneliness. What if I don't want to walk away? Veronica asked quietly. Josephine's breath caught. Then I'll protect you. With everything I have. Even though we just met? Especially because we just met. Josephine leaned forward slightly. Because in 20 minutes, you made me feel something I haven't felt in years. And I'm selfish enough to want more of it. Veronica's heart was pounding. This was insane, reckless, dangerous, but she smiled. Then I guess we're both being selfish. They talked for 3 hours, about their lives, their fears, their dreams they'd abandoned along the way. Josephine told her about growing up in a world where trust was currency and betrayal was survival. Veronica told her about building a life so safe it felt like a cage. By the time they left the restaurant, Veronica felt lighter than she had in years. Josephine walked her to the car. Can I see you again? Josephine asked. When? Tomorrow? Veronica laughed. You don't waste time, do you? I've wasted enough time already. Veronica's smile faded. She reached out and touched Josephine's hand, just briefly. Tomorrow, she agreed. But neither of them knew that across the street, a man in a parked car was taking photos. Photos of them leaving together. Photos of Josephine's unguarded smile. Photos of Veronica's hand touching hers. The man sent the photos to his boss with a single message. She has a weakness now. And in a warehouse across the city, a man named Kang Daijung stared at the photos on his phone. He was Josephine's uncle, the man who should have inherited the Chungjin Group, the man who'd been waiting 3 years for her to make a mistake. He smiled slowly. Finally, he muttered, something I can use. He made a call. I want everything on the woman in these photos, name, address, family, weaknesses. I want it by tomorrow morning. The voice on the other end confirmed. Daijung hung up and stared at Veronica's face on his screen. Let's see how strong you really are, Josephine, he said to himself. Let's see what you'll sacrifice for a stranger. Veronica woke up the next morning with a text from Josephine. Good morning, thinking about you. Is 6 p.m. too early for dinner? She smiled, warmth spreading through her chest. 6 p.m. is perfect. But as she was getting ready for work, her phone rang from an unknown number. She answered cautiously. Hello? Is this Veronica Lee? Yes. Who's calling? My name is Park Min-jun. I work for Josephine Kang. I need to speak with you urgently. Veronica's stomach dropped. What's wrong? Is she okay? She's fine, but you're not. Someone's been watching you. We don't know who yet, but your safety is compromised. Veronica's blood ran cold. What are you talking about? Can you meet me? There's a cafe near your apartment. I'm not meeting a stranger just because. Ms. Lee. Min-jun's voice was urgent. If you care about Josephine, and if you care about your own safety, you'll meet me. 30 minutes, Café O'Neill. I'll be wearing a gray suit. He hung up before she could respond. Veronica's hands shook as she grabbed her coat. This was happening too fast. Yesterday she was going on a date. Today someone was watching her. She walked to Café O'Neill in a daze. Inside, a man in a gray suit sat at a corner table. He stood when she entered. Ms. Lee, thank you for coming. She sat down slowly. What's going on? Minjun slid a folder across the table. These photos were taken last night. They've already been distributed to Josephine's enemies. Veronica opened the folder. Photos of her and Josephine leaving the restaurant. Close-ups of their faces. Timestamps. Location data. Her throat tightened. Who took these? We're still investigating. But whoever it is, they're working for someone who wants to hurt Josephine. And they think I'm… What? Leverage? Exactly. Veronica closed the folder, her hands trembling. So what do I do? Minjun's expression softened. You have two options. Walk away now. Disappear from her life before this gets worse. Or let us protect you. But understand, once you make that choice, there's no going back. You'll be part of her world, and that world is dangerous. Veronica stared at him. Does Josephine know you're here? No, she'd never ask this of you. She'd tell me to make you disappear for your own safety. Then why are you telling me? Minjun hesitated. Because in 3 years of working for her, I've never seen her happy. Not once. And last night when she came home, she was smiling. Veronica's eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. I need to think, she whispered. You have until tonight. After that, the threat level increases. Veronica walked home in shock. Her phone buzzed constantly. Work emails, meeting reminders, the mundane routine of her old life. But her old life felt impossibly far away now. She sat on her apartment floor, staring at the folder Minjun gave her. Photos of a woman who looked happy, unguarded, free. She barely recognized herself. Her phone rang. Josephine. Veronica answered with shaking hands. Hello? Hey, Josephine's voice was soft. I wanted to hear your voice. Is that strange? No, it's nice. Are you okay? You sound off. Veronica closed her eyes. She should tell her. Should warn her that someone was watching. Should ask what she'd gotten herself into. But instead she said, I'm fine, just thinking about tonight. Me too. Josephine paused. Veronica, if this is moving too fast, it's not. You can be honest with me. Veronica took a breath. Can I ask you something? Anything. Last night, you said you'd protect me. Did you mean that? Josephine's voice changed, became steel, wrapped in silk. With my life. Even if it puts you in danger. Especially then. Veronica's decision crystallized in that moment. She wasn't going to run, wasn't going to choose safety over something real. For once in her carefully controlled life, she was going to take a risk. Then I'll see you tonight, Veronica said firmly. 6 p.m. I'll be counting the minutes. That evening, Josephine arrived at Veronica's apartment building in an unmarked car. No driver this time, no security detail. Just her. She wanted this to feel normal. Veronica was waiting outside. Jeans, simple sweater, hair down. She looked nervous but determined. Josephine stepped out of the car. You look beautiful, Josephine said softly. You look dangerous. Josephine's lips curved into a small smile. I am dangerous. But not to you. They drove to a quiet spot overlooking the Han River. The city lights reflected on the water like scattered diamonds. They sat on the hood of the car, shoulders almost touching. I need to tell you something, Veronica said quietly. Josephine tensed. What is it? Your assistant came to see me this morning. He showed me photos. Someone's watching us. Josephine's expression went ice cold. Minjun told you? Don't be mad at him. He was trying to help. By scaring you? By giving me a choice. Veronica turned to face her. He said I could walk away, disappear before things got worse. And I thought about it. I really did. Josephine's jaw tightened. And I'm still here. Josephine exhaled slowly. You shouldn't be. You should run as far away from me as possible. Why? Because people who get close to me get hurt. Josephine's voice cracked slightly. And I won't let that happen to you. Veronica reached out and took her hand. Josephine flinched at the contact but didn't pull away. What if I'm willing to take that risk? Veronica asked. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. Veronica squeezed her hand. I've spent my whole life playing it safe, building walls, avoiding anything that might hurt me. And you know what? I'm miserable. Josephine's eyes glistened. Veronica, I'm not done. Veronica's voice was steady now. You asked me yesterday what you could possibly want from me, and I've been thinking about that. Maybe what you want is the same thing I want. What's that? Someone who sees us, really sees us. Not the roles we play or the masks we wear, just us. Josephine's breath caught. Nobody had ever said anything like that to her before. You're going to make me cry, Josephine whispered. Then cry, Veronica smiled softly. I won't tell anyone. And for the first time in years, Josephine let a tear slip down her cheek. Veronica wiped it away gently. Then they kissed, soft and hesitant and real. But across the river, in a warehouse office, Do Young was making his move. He'd assembled a team, gathered information, planned the perfect strike. Tomorrow morning, he told his men, we take the girl. Josephine will have 48 hours to step down and transfer control of the Chungjin group to me. If she refuses, he didn't need to finish the sentence. His men nodded. The plan was set, and Veronica, sitting by the river, kissing a woman who made her feel alive for the first time in years, had no idea that by sunrise, her entire world would be burning. If you're still with me, thank you, and if you want to know what happens next, if you want to see how far Josephine will go to protect someone she barely knows, hit that like button and subscribe. My husband said this story was too unrealistic, and nobody falls in love that fast. Let's prove him wrong. Thanks for subscribing. Now here's where everything goes sideways. The next morning, Veronica woke up to her phone buzzing insistently. She grabbed it groggily, expecting work emails. Instead, she saw 15 missed calls from Josephine. Her stomach dropped. She called back immediately. Josephine answered on the first ring. Where are you? Home. What's wrong? Stay there. Lock your doors. Don't open them for anyone except me. I'm sending Minjun now. Josephine, you're scaring me. Good. You should be scared. Josephine's voice was tight with barely controlled panic. My uncle made his move. He knows about you. He's coming for you. The line went dead. Veronica's hands shook as she rushed to lock her apartment door. She checked the windows, drew the curtains. Her heart was hammering so hard she felt dizzy. This was real. The danger was real. 5 minutes later, someone knocked. Veronica froze. Missy Lee, it's Minjun. Josephine sent me. She looked through the peephole. It was him, the man from the cafe. Gray suit. Serious expression. She opened the door. Pack a bag, he said immediately. We need to move you now. Move me where? Somewhere safe. Josephine's orders. Veronica grabbed essentials, clothes, phone charger, wallet, and stuffed them into a backpack with shaking hands. They were halfway to the elevator when Minjun's phone rang. He answered, listened. His face went pale. Get back inside, he said urgently. What? Why? They're already here. Before Veronica could react, the elevator doors opened. 3 men stepped out. Not security, not police, predators. Minjun pushed Veronica behind him. Go, now, fire exit, don't stop running. What about you? Go, Veronica ran. She heard shouting behind her, a scuffle. Something heavy hitting the floor. She burst through the fire exit door and flew down the stairs. Her lungs burned, her legs screamed. She didn't stop. 4th floor, 3rd floor, 2nd floor. She crashed through the lobby door and ran straight into someone's chest. A man caught her by the shoulders. Strong grip, cold eyes. Veronica Lee? He asked calmly. She tried to scream. He clamped a hand over her mouth. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. 2 more men appeared from nowhere. One grabbed her arms, the other opened a van door waiting at the curb. Veronica kicked, thrashed, bit down hard on the hand covering her mouth. The man swore and backhanded her across the face. Her vision exploded into stars. Everything went black. When Veronica woke up, she was in a chair. Her hands were zip-tied behind her back. Her head throbbed. Her mouth tasted like blood. The room was dim, some kind of warehouse or storage facility. A man sat across from her. 50s, expensive suit. Cold smile. Ms. Lee, he said pleasantly. My apologies for the rough treatment. My men can be unenthusiastic. Veronica's voice came out hoarse. Who are you? Kang Daijung, Josephine's uncle. He stood and walked closer. Has she told you about me? No. I'm not surprised. She likes to pretend I don't exist. He circled her chair slowly. But I exist. And I should have inherited what's mine. Veronica's mind raced. So this is about power. This is about legacy. His voice hardened. My brother built the Chungjin Group with blood and strategy, and when he died, it should have gone to me. Not to a girl who thinks compassion makes her strong. She is strong, Veronica said through gritted teeth. Daijung laughed. Is she? Because from where I'm standing, she just made the biggest mistake of her life. What do you want? I want her to step down, transfer control to me, and in exchange, you get to live. Veronica's blood ran cold. You think she'll choose me over everything she's built? I think she'll do anything to keep you safe. He leaned in close. Which means you're the perfect leverage. Across the city, Josephine was tearing her office apart. Papers scattered, phones ringing, every resource she had mobilized. Where is she? She roared at a trembling subordinate. We're searching, ma'am. Search faster. Minjun limped into the room, his face bruised, his suit torn. Ma'am, Josephine spun on him. Tell me you found her. I'm sorry, his voice broke. They took her. I tried. I don't want apologies. I want locations. We're tracking the van. We'll find her. Josephine's hands shook with rage, with fear, with something she hadn't felt in years, helplessness. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Who is this? Hello, niece. Daejung's voice was smooth. I believe I have something of yours. Josephine's entire body went rigid. If you hurt her, then what, you'll kill me? We both know you're too soft for that now. Try me. Here's what's going to happen. Daejung's tone turned businesslike. You're going to step down, transfer control of the Chungjin Group to me, and in return, your little friend goes home unharmed. Josephine's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. You have no idea what you've just done. I've won. That's what I've done. You've signed your death warrant. The line went dead. Josephine turned to her assembled team, 20 of her most trusted people. Find her, she said, with terrifying calm. And when you find her, everyone who touched her dies. No negotiations, no mercy. Minjun stepped forward. Ma'am, if you go in aggressive, he might kill her out of spite. Then we go in smart. Josephine's eyes were ice. Get me blueprints of every property Daejung owns. I want surveillance on all of them, and get me Lee Sang-woo on the phone. The prosecutor. Yes. Tell him I'm calling in the favor he owes me. Minjun nodded and rushed out. Josephine stood alone for a moment, her hands gripping the edge of her desk so hard, her knuckles went white. She'd spent 3 years avoiding war, but if Daejung wanted war, she'd burn his entire world to ash. Back in the warehouse, Veronica was trying to stay calm. Panicking wouldn't help. Crying wouldn't help. She needed to think. Daejung had left her alone with 2 guards. They stood by the door, bored, checking their phones. She studied the room. Concrete walls, high windows, 1 door. The zip ties were tight but not professionally done. She remembered something from a self-defense class years ago. If you can get your hands in front of you, you can slip the ties off. Slowly, carefully, she worked her hands under her body. Her shoulders screamed in protest. The guards didn't notice. She brought her hands to the front, breathing hard. Now for the ties. She raised her hands above her head and brought them down hard on her knee. The zip tie snapped. The guards turned. Too late. Veronica grabbed the chair she'd been sitting on and swung it with everything she had. It connected with the first guard's face. He went down hard, blood streaming from his nose. The second guard lunged for her. She dodged, grabbed a metal pipe leaning against the wall, and swung. It hit his knee with a sickening crack. He screamed and collapsed. Veronica ran. She didn't know where she was, didn't know how to get out, but she kept running. She burst through a door into an alley. Dark, wet, garbage everywhere. She ran toward the streetlights in the distance. Behind her, shouting, footsteps. She pushed harder, lungs burning, legs shaking. Then headlights flooded the alley. A car screeched to a stop in front of her. The door flew open. Get in, Josephine. Veronica threw herself into the car. Josephine hit the gas before the door even closed. Behind them, men poured into the alley, shouting, some pulling guns. Josephine drove like a woman possessed, weaving through traffic, running red lights, taking corners so sharp Veronica had to brace herself against the door. "Are you hurt?" Josephine demanded, eyes on the road. "I'm okay. How did you find me?" "I burned every favor I had, called in every debt, tracked every vehicle." Josephine's voice shook. "I would have torn this city apart brick by brick to find you." Veronica's eyes filled with tears. "This is my fault. If I hadn't—" "Don't." Josephine's hand reached out and squeezed hers. "Don't you dare blame yourself. Your uncle said you'd have to choose between me and everything you've built." Josephine's jaw tightened. "Then he's a fool. Because I'd burn it all down before I let him hurt you." "Josephine, I mean it." She finally looked at Veronica, eyes blazing. "You're not leverage. You're not a weakness. You're the first real thing I've had in years, and I will protect that with everything I am." They drove to a safe house on the outskirts of Seoul, a small apartment Josephine kept off the books. Inside, Josephine finally let herself breathe. She turned to Veronica. "Let me see your face." The bruise where Daejung's man had hit her was already turning purple. Josephine's expression went murderous. "I'm going to kill them," she said quietly. "All of them." "Josephine, I know you don't understand this world. I know you think there's another way." Josephine cupped Veronica's face gently, her thumb tracing the edge of the bruise. "But when someone touches what's mine, there are no second chances." Veronica should have been afraid of that statement. Instead, she felt safe. Over the next 48 hours, Josephine waged war. She didn't do it loudly, didn't do it publicly. She did it surgically. Daejung's assets started disappearing. His allies started backing away. His network started crumbling. And when he finally realized what was happening, it was too late. Josephine showed up at his compound with 20 armed men. Not to negotiate, to end it. Daejung stood in his office, surrounded by his last remaining guards. The door burst open. Josephine walked in like death itself. "You should have killed her when you had the chance," Josephine said coldly. Daejung sneered. "This isn't over." "Yes, it is." What happened next was swift, brutal, final. By sunrise, Daejung was gone. Not dead. Josephine was smart enough to avoid that. But exiled. Stripped of power. Broken. 3 days later, Veronica sat in Josephine's penthouse, overlooking the city. The bruise on her face was fading. The fear was still there. But so was something else. Josephine sat beside her on the couch. "I need to ask you something." "What?" "Are you sure you want this?" Josephine's voice was soft, vulnerable. "This life, this danger, me." Veronica turned to face her. "Do you remember what you said in the elevator?" "I said a lot of things. You said you felt like you were enduring, not living." Josephine nodded slowly. "Well, so was I." Veronica took her hand. "And then I met you, and for the first time in years, I felt alive. Terrified, yes, but alive." Josephine's eyes glistened. "You almost died because of me. And you almost burned your entire world down to save me." Veronica squeezed her hand. "That has to mean something. It means I'm selfish. It means I'm dangerous. It means you care." Veronica smiled softly. "And so do I." Josephine pulled her into an embrace, desperate, relieved, grateful. "I love you," Josephine whispered. "I know it's too soon, I know it's insane, but I do." Veronica felt tears slip down her cheeks. "I love you too." 6 months later, Veronica moved into the penthouse. She kept her job. Josephine insisted on normalcy where possible. But her life was different now. She attended meetings with Josephine, learned the business, met the people, understood the balance between light and shadow that Josephine maintained. She was never leverage again. She became a partner. And on a quiet Thursday evening, they returned to the Mirai Financial Tower. Stood in front of the elevator. "Ready?" Josephine asked. Veronica smiled. "Always." They stepped inside. The doors closed. And this time, when the elevator descended, they both knew exactly where they were going. Together. If this story moved you, if it made you believe that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is take a risk on someone who sees you, hit that like button and subscribe. My husband said this ending was too happy, and real mafia stories don't end like this. But you know what? Sometimes they do. Thanks for watching, thanks for believing, and thanks for proving him wrong. Until next time.